This is a live DTFH, and I'm so happy that you are here with me, my child. You are compelled by the universe to join this stream today. Something called you this place. Yes, we watch the birds fly south, and we think to ourselves, what magical universe this is that the birds are called away from the cold winds of winter. And similarly, you have been called away from the cold winds of the cloying cultural zeitgeist. No doubt you feel as though you're some kind of media pig slurping around the slop ridden mud pin of social media, streaming services. And you could think to yourself, my God, what is this? Is this actually the in-shitification that I've heard about so much? Am I witnessing a slow boil kind of apocalypse? Not the cool kind of apocalypse either, kind of apocalypse that many of us have prayed for. Fire, bandits, lots of dirty, grimy sex, maybe some zombies here or there, but rather something far worse than what was ever predicted by George Romero or anyone who made a classic apocalyptic film. An apocalypse of slow decay into exponentially increasing levels of self-absorption, mediocrity, leading to a kind of human centipede of content where most of what we see these days is somewhat generated by AI, and if not generated by AI, completely imitative. Imitative, not even in the normal sense of imitative, but imitative in the sense that somebody makes a viral video. They throw their diarrhea at a baby or sling a chimpanzee into the side of a building. And then, because of that, because of its virality, so many other people instantaneously imitate that, start throwing chimpanzees into the side of buildings or slinging their diarrhea at babies. And this goes on until somebody else does something horrifically unique, and the cycle begins again. And this is produced, depending on your algorithm, for a lot of people, a kind of general nausea when it comes to their assessment of day-to-day reality. They think to themselves, perhaps I'm the insane one because I don't want to watch someone throwing diarrhea on a baby. I don't want to see any more chimps getting slung into the wall. But it seems like everyone does, because why would people be watching it? Well, there's an answer to that, and it's not what you're thinking. Satan. As it turns out, we are trapped. Not really, of course. I mean, it's phone addiction, media addiction. The underlying cause of the phenomena has nothing to do with evil tech companies or people making addictive technology, though that is exactly what they're doing. But the addictive technology wouldn't work without some underlying suffering, you see. And that's the eternal problem. You're born into this world, and initially, you don't even know it's you when you look in the mirror. Babies don't know that's them. They learn that over time. They're free in a certain way. They don't know they're not their mom. They don't know they're not the walls or the room. They're just some kind of awareness field that begins to grow identity. In the same way that a foot grows fungus, or in the same way that an ant's nest forms. Only it's not a nest. It's not tunnels underground filled with ants. It's your neurological connections as you begin to assess that there appears to be a difference between you and everything else. And because of this difference, you got to figure out ways to get fed, get those boobies in your mouth and get that milk. So that's the beginning of the human journey. Slow differentiation, which becomes increasingly complex based on your preferences. Maybe you like getting your ass eaten. Maybe.
No, that was just a cough. That wasn't
Come
like
on.
me admitting anything.
I know what that is. You don't have to feel ashamed. We're kink friendly here. maybe you enjoy eating ass. And you might go to someone and say to them, "Don't you enjoy eating ass?" And they might say, "No, but I do like having my ass eaten." And that is the beginning of a friendship or a romance, and potentially a marriage. The point is, though, it's these distinctions that we evolve over time that make us who we think we are. There are those who like to eat ass, there are those who like to have their ass eaten, and there are those who think that both sides of the coin are disgusting. There are those who think that eating ass is the devil's work, that evil enters the world via analingus. People believe that. They really believe that. They might even be able to cite scriptural reference from a variety of world religions. They might even weirdly have these memorized as though they think about eating ass all the time and need some kind of spiritual backup to protect them from the gravitational pull of whoever's ass they want to eat secretly. It's these preferences, my friends, that calcify the ego, the identity. And so over time, you have to learn that the thing you're looking at in the mirror is you, and everything outside the mirror is everything else. You have created a body sense of meanness and identity sense. And problem here is that though that is true, if I slap your face, I'm not going to feel anything. My hand, I mean, maybe if you have like stubble or a hard face, but it's not going to hurt me as much as it hurts you. And if somebody slaps your face, it's not going to hurt them as much as it hurts you. There are reasons to create defensive behavior patterns around the fact that the locus of experience seems to be the human body, the self. But the problem is that over time, this sense of identity, it becomes less flexible. This is showing up in other ways throughout civilization. For example, I was at a coffee shop the other day and some son of a bitch had a standing desk at a coffee shop. Now I'm an old soul man. I'm an old soul man. I used to busk down on the streets of New Orleans, singing to the masses. They love me. Yeah, I get sucked and fucked down almost every night. Plus, nothing better than going back to my van and opening up my guitar and pouring out all the money. And then inside that that money is little packets of dope and drugs. And my old dog, Biscuit, God rest his soul, that actually he got into my money piles. He used to roll around and it was funny to me. And then I guess some dumb son of a bitch had put something in there that blasted Biscuit right into space. I don't even know what it was. Didn't see it. He just slurped it back. Biscuit got weird after that. And yeah, we just sort of had to part ways. He wasn't interested in my music anymore. He said it was redundant. I was trying to be Tom Waits. Stupid that I'm busking when I have so much money in my account that had been given to me by my grandparents. I tried to have him euthanized, took him to the vet in New Orleans and said, "This dog has become really judgmental of my way of life. He's trying to point out inconsistencies in between what I sing and how he sees me live and doesn't seem to want to accept the fact that you don't have to just be one thing. You can be lots of things at the same time." The vet got weird and was like, "Man, dogs can't talk. I've been a vet for a long time." And then I explained to him, "Yeah, well, I agree with you there. Dogs can't talk, but Biscuit got into he used to roll in my busking money." And I thought that was funny. And he got into something somebody threw in there and then seemed to have gained like some like incredible intelligence that is non-standard, not just for animals, but for people in general. Became judgmental, started holding his own like intuition and instinct above reality. And so Yeah, I could not get him euthanized, and so then I realized, and I'm glad, honestly, but I realized, as I walked him out from the vet that, I should have just, like, talked to him about it and been like, "Do you just wanna go find somebody else?" And which is the conversation we had after the vet visit, and he was obviously really kind of shaken because he came so close to being euthanized. I mean, lucky for me, that was a rational vet. Point is, Biscuit is in a good home now. Um, Lives in a museum in New Orleans. And over time, I began to realize something. I began to realize that Biscuit was right, that by trying to sort of put on the show of being a New Orleans busker, I robbed myself of being who I really was, which was a lover, poet. I moved to Paris after that, became a lover and a poet. This is the journey of self, the journey of identity. All of you have had various phases like that. I have no doubt that many of you spent time in Nicaragua or working in the opium fields of Afghanistan as you wandered through the world to explore your own identity in a journey of discovery. But over time, what I began to realize is that all of these various phases, whether it was the lover of life, the hedonist, the secret Anthony Bourdain is what I would call myself. And what I began to realize is that these were all just attempts at evading a fundamental problem that I didn't want to look straight in the face, which is that I just didn't want to feel anything. And that by busking and getting blasted on weird shit people put in my guitar case, by making love in the Parisian catacombs to queens and princesses, that nothing was really changing when it came to this kind of underlying fundamental sense of not fitting in to the world. Kind of raw, dark feeling that followed me wherever I might go, a sort of shadow experience. And there was a time where I actually thought, "Is it a demon? Should I not have bought the Necronomicon when I was in high school and tried to do a Sumerian occult ritual in the woods outside my house?" Perhaps something latched on to me. And then I realized, no, I don't think that's it. I think, in fact, what's going on here is that there's a fundamental distortion in my relationship with the universe, in the sense that I think I'm different than the universe and thus have to manipulate, distract, seduce, just so that I wouldn't feel the kind of homesick feeling that is the fundamental human experience for most people. That feeling of homesickness. Do you remember that feeling? Did you ever feel homesick when you were a kid?
Oh, I couldn't wait to leave
But when you left, didn't you want to come back?
for food and laundry.
Don't do crass comedy. We're not doing that anymore. This is sincerity now on this podcast. We're not doing that anymore. I'm not allowed to, and I'm not allowed to practice sarcasm in Texas anymore.
I cried like a bitch and I wanted to go home.
Thank you. Is that true? Now you're just going the other way.
No, I was 17 and I went to college and I was scared.
Is that true?
Yeah.
Okay. Now we're getting somewhere. The feeling of homesickness, friends, is an authentic contact with your heart. Now, I used to work at a summer camp. Homesickness is fucking real. I went to summer camp and got homesick. I have some letters, some very sentimental letters I wrote to my mom, just describing my reality at this fairly nice summer camp like I was in a gulag. Like, it was fun. There was a zip line, a lake, but my description of the reality was like, "Dude, like, what have you done to me?" Why, like, essentially as though she had me kidnapped, like those parents do, where they have their children dragged off in the night to Costa Rica, where they get the shit kicked out of them until they get off dope. It was not that kind of it was an Episcopalian, wonderful summer camp, and I later became a counselor there. And then as a counselor, you encounter homesickness, these kids, they're just dying. They miss their mom so much, they miss their home so much. They can't enjoy anything around them, they can't have fun because the fundamental sense of disconnect from their home experience was getting in front of everything.
Unknown caller.
Whoa, from Sand Rock, Alabama. I'm not answering that shit. Kinda want to though, right?
Check what it is.
Hello? Hello? Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me? Hold on.
Stay on this call and get your confirmation.
All right, thank you so much. I'm about to get in my confirmation code. Yeah.
Hello.
Hey,
Yeah, how are you doing today?
I couldn't be better. You wouldn't even believe it. Exploring the idea of my identity. Point is, that feeling of homesickness, that's called the original heart of sadness. And what that feeling really is, though, if you ask any kid, they're going to say they miss their mom. If you ask any kid, they're going to say they want to be home. But really, what's going on there is a much deeper form of homesickness. The homesickness is alienation. The world's your home, it's you. You can't not fit in. But because you think there's an out there and an in here, you come up with all these stories. And the most you want to explain it. That's the main thing, man. The blues. When I used to busk, I bust the blues and I'd make them weep out there in New Orleans, throwing beignets into my guitar case. Hated that. But that experience is the reason that there's enshittification in the world. That is the reason when you go on Instagram or social media, you start feeling a kind of swooning, dizzy sense of just numb shittiness. Because what you're doing there is you're trying to evade as much as you possibly can that feeling of homesickness. It sucks, especially if you're a grown up. Because why am I feeling like this? What could this be? Well, you want an explanation. Why wouldn't you? If you have an explanation, then maybe you don't get the sense it'll go on forever. And so the explanation, that's your story. That's why you're mad at whoever and this asshole did that to you and the fucking world and climate change and all the awfulness of the stuff that did the thing to you that like, oh my God, why wouldn't I feel like this? Because Barry stole $5,000 from the business account and then went to fucking Tijuana and got like in trouble with the cartels and like, you know, called desperate. And I'm an idiot. I didn't notice the signs of like addiction and alcoholism. So I sent more money to that dumb son of a bitch. He wasn't even in Tijuana. He wasn't kidnapped by the fucking cartels. He was in Maui. He tricked me. And now I don't trust anyone anymore. And the time I was in the pool and I almost drowned because this kid pulled my floaty, like deflated my floaties when I was out there. And he laughed as I began to drown. My mom pulled me out. And now, see, I'm scared of water now. And there was the time I was taking a shit and my dog Jenny got hit by a car and I heard my brother screaming outside. And now when I shit, I feel sad. And see, that's why, because it's like the combination of shitting and like my dog dying and I broke out in hives, which is the reason for it, because that's why. But I don't think any of those reasons are necessarily true. Not to say things aren't supposed to make you sad or upset, but if you don't deal with the fundamental underlying issue, then you will be susceptible to all forms of manipulation, unfortunately, because you want to feel better. Oh my God, you want to feel better. When you're on fire, you want somebody to put out the fucking fire, man. You do. We are so lucky to some degree that you can't be on fire that long without dying. That's a gift. Really is. If somehow we'd evolved so that we could be on fire for a few days before we died, oh my God, it would be a whole different civilization. And obviously, that would be a quick way to make a buck is you take somebody, set them on fire, let them burn for a while. And you're like, listen, man, give me your ATM pen and I will put this fire out right now. Or I'll put the fire out when I get back from your ATM. And then you just extinguish somebody. This sadly is the situation, except it's not normal fire. You can't see it. The fire is the fire of distortion. Then you take some psychedelic, and if you're lucky, you have that trip where for a second, you feel this grand sense of relief. No longer encumbered by the chains of your identity. You experience this kind of expansive consciousness situation. It feels good. And what's crazy is even though you are out of your mind, you feel at home. But why would I feel at home? I'm at some shitty music festival or in the back of my friend's car or whatever, in a God help you, a porta potty. God help you. And yet, here in a porta potty, the wafting, terrible stink of Coachella spray rising up from the dark abyss below you. That stink specific to festivals and porta potties. There could be somebody down there with a snorkel. And yet, even there, a sense of being at home. And you can't believe it. It doesn't make sense. It might even make you freak out, only because why would I feel at home at a porta potty? Why would I feel at home in the back seat of my friend's shitty fucking Toyota? None of this makes sense. And then that could trigger you thinking about your childhood, and then you're out of the moment. But what you experienced there for a brief flash was actually the situation or the other side of the abyss. But this is the fucking paradox, man. You can't get to the point where porta potties seem like home if you don't first allow yourself to completely feel. No way. There's no way there. And this is why when you flip through the goddamn feed, you're seeing only frames of hell. Of course, because the reason you're flipping through that feed is you don't want to feel. You don't want to feel. Why would you? It seems unbearable. The feelings. They're too much. Sometimes when I see like kids with like really hardcore autism, I wonder, like, are they just like more advanced? Or is that what they're doing, a more authentic reaction to reality when you've differentiated yourself? The volumes are so loud on everything right now. All the volumes turned up. Everywhere. Things are loud. People are loud. And the distraction technology is at an all-time high. They've got it mapped out, man. It's incredible. The ability to distract is so profound. And The only reason that it has gotten so advanced is because we want to be distracted desperately. Anything to not feel this fucking feeling of being human. Because it's kind of a lonely feeling, and it's kind of a scary feeling, and it's that sadness, that homesickness is really disorienting if you're feeling homesick, but you're at home. That's a very strange experience, isn't it? You are able to not distract yourself for a little bit. And boy, let me tell you, I'm on a Baldur's Gate binger, but we'll get into that later. If you just feel it, you realize it's not unbearable. It just seems unbearable. And the only reason it seems unbearable is the same reason you don't want to take cold showers. These cold shower fascists out there parading around with their fucking glowing skin, acting like cold showers are the fountain of youth. I love Wim Hof. I had him on my podcast, not to brag. But you get in a cold shower, and if you just can like stand there for more than a minute, it's not so bad anymore. Cold showers only suck for the first 30 seconds, max. Okay, maybe a little longer, especially when you turn around. But the point is, you get used to it. And it stops feeling terrible. It starts feeling actually kind of good. This is the great secret. I'm sure there's all kinds of other secrets out there. Insidious secrets, dark secrets, conspiratorial secrets, protected mysteries within mysteries. But the greatest secret is the one in front of everyone, which is the more time you try to evade paying your ticket, the human ticket, which is to feel, the longer you're going to feel like shit. And anything out there that is keeping you from that full experience of your own humanity. Though, in the moment, it's so great. God, I love getting numbed down, baby. Do you like getting numbed down?
Oh yeah, there's a comfort in numbness.
Oh, a good numb. Nothing quite like it, man. Oh my God. You look at you look at the clock. Hours have passed. You've been so fixated and absorbed in some bullshit. And that whole time, all you felt was this sort of like, it's not really numbness, is it? It's a feeling. There's a feeling that goes along with it. A kind of like, just a sort of like, just a monotone sort of. It's
You're comfortable. I think it could be used as a tool if you use it as a pit stop, because you can't run forever.
okay. Yeah. Well, the pit stop theory is great. And I love it. This is one of my mini tricks to allow myself to stay numb. The pit stop. I like that you said that. Here's the pit stop theory. The pit stop theory goes like this. You got to enjoy life sometimes, man. You can't just always be like, doing stuff that's not fun. You need to give yourself a break because you've earned it. Right? That's a pit stop theory.
Yeah.
So pit stop theory is just one of my go-to rationalizations for binging on video games or drugs or booze or whatever, which is I need a pit stop. Problem with the pit stops is sometimes those pit stops just turn into stops. And pit stop is exactly the right term for it because you're climbing into the pit and you're stopping in this nice, comfortable pit. Like, there's pits and then there's pits. Now, if you were walking in the forest, and this happened to me once, and unfortunately, somebody had escaped from a mental facility, and they had taken to trapping people in the forest by digging pits, covering them with a classic pit trap, like sticks or whatever. The one I fell into was very sophisticated. I don't fall for all pit traps. I feel like I need to say that. It looked like the forest floor. Like this lunatic knew how to build a fucking pit trap. And, I've seen pit traps in the forest before, This was during the big pit trap craze of the late 90s. And, there's like garden variety shitty pit traps. Looks like a kid made it, just some sticks. You just walk around, no big deal. And then there's this kind of pit trap. This is like Viet Cong level genius. Like as I was in the pit that I fell in, I was thinking about the path leading to the pit trap and realized that like someone had hung wind chimes and there was a pinwheel and all these distracting things on the way to the pit trap. Because I was like I was enjoying it. There were so many wind chimes there. I just thought some fucking hippie had come up there to try to beautify the forest, which I know is controversial. Like it's already beautiful, but I like wind chimes. So the point is, not only was this loon, not only did he like set up a perfect pre-pit trap distraction, but the trap itself just looked like you would never have thought that that was not the path. And so, boof, I go in the pit trap. It was muddy, uncomfortable. Definitely like the walls have been greased, so there's no way to climb out. And I was screaming for help, and lucky for me that they'd been searching the forest for that lunatic, and there had been signs up saying there's a lunatic out here, so probably don't go hiking today. And I thought that was somebody was being silly, but it was true. So they got me out is the point. But let me ask you this. Wouldn't you rather be in a muddy, well-greased pit trap with like weird schizo writing on the walls? So you're in the pit trap. Or would you rather your pit trap have like a nice bed, a nice TV, streaming Wi-Fi, one of those awesome rain showers, but the option for a regular shower if you don't feel like that? Wouldn't you rather it just be a regular pit trap?
No, I want the pit trap that's a bad relationship, and I'm staying there at her place because it's nicer. But I know this is going nowhere.
That's called hobosexual.
Oh,
Have you ever heard that term before?
I was a homosexual for a long time in college.
Were you really?
Yeah, all my ex-girlfriends were like sugar mamas or older.
Oh my God. I get it. I get it, man. Times are tough. There's nothing unnatural about being a hobosexual. These are hard times. You can't buy a house these days. And you think maybe I'll grow into this relationship. There's at least I'll be living in a fucking house. Times are tough. But yeah, there's a pit trap for sure. And that's why they call it I'm sure they have another reason for calling it a pit stop. But in this case, if you find yourself revisiting old patterns that have never really made you happy, but distract you, that's the pit stop. You're stopping back at your pit. You're waving to the world, goodbye, I'm going down into my pit today. And then you go down in your fucking pit and you pretend it's not a pit. But you've definitely stopped to some degree. And the general promise of there's all kinds of terms. The term actualization replaced the term enlightenment because you couldn't be a respected psychologist and say enlighten. So this was a pop psychology term that showed up. Actualization. I think it was Abraham Maslow came up with that term. Actualization is enlightenment. And the idea here is that just being human gives you access to this heightened level of reality. That is a possibility. And we hear about it all the fucking time. And Maslow kind of broke down what that looks like. I think the name of the book I read this in is Religious Values and Peak Experiences. But essentially there's a map here for how it works, which is somebody doesn't just climb out of the fucking pit trap and then go back in. Somebody makes everything feel to them like when all things are lining up in their life and everything is arranged the right way and organized the right way. They, at that point, cease to be what we think of as a normal human being. They become magnetic. People smell something on them. You know, there's something about them that, like, when you're around them for even just a few minutes, you start feeling differently because you're not around like a pit person. You're around a person who's like no longer in the pit.
An aura.
What?
An aura.
An aura, a radiance. That's why I always drew halos around the saints and stuff. There was a kind of glow that they had that, like, you would just get in their presence and you suddenly felt good and safe and accepted and okay. So the term for that Maslow came up with was actualization. Now, this is the enlightened state, the guru, the messiah. And these people do show up. They come out on the scene and like their stories are told about them. And the way Maslow put it is usually the people around them also become actualized or at home in the universe. They don't, their neurosis and their whatever was fucking plaguing their ass is not like suppressed, but just gone. Now everything's incredible to them. Even the stuff that's not incredible is incredible. It's not like they don't feel anymore. They're happy all the time. It's that they're not resisting the human experience at all. There is no resistance to anything anymore, or what in Buddhism they call attachment. They're not attached anymore. They're completely free, liberated beings. They're not getting caught. Let's see what it does. There we go. You had to click reconnect.
There we go.
We're back. You got to click reconnect.
We're back. Yeah.
So, friends, this is entropy. I don't know where I left out, but the point is you get an enlightened being. The enlightened being has people around them that usually get enlightened, and then those people become the disciples. The disciples have people around them, and then what happens is what was a spontaneous, this is another quality of these people, spontaneity. It's wild. They're literally wild animals. This is not a domesticated human anymore. They're just wild. The moment they've shaken off giving a shit in the way normal people do about making sure that they're cool and everyone likes them and they get views or whatever the fuck, then they become wild, spontaneous beings. But they're not wild like mean wild. They're wild in that everything they do spontaneously seems to be so beautiful. They're good at shit too. It's like all across the board. And so what happens is over time, somebody shows up and starts saying, that's not what they meant. And we got to reinterpret whatever the fuck it was they said at that moment. And this is the beginning of religion. This is the beginning of ritual. This is the beginning of dogma. And so now the actualized beings become less prevalent within the circle of this actualized being. And now you have people who just follow rituals. And the rituals they follow are what they saw the actualized being do. And that's where it gets sad. Now they're just like saying the namaste or whatever the fuck this asshole was saying. And then, and even the idea of becoming enlightened or actualized or at peace in the world kind of goes out the window. So now there's you don't try to be like that guy. It's not possible for normal people like us. Let's just, keep like doing the mantra and showing up at the right time and doing the thing that used to be spontaneous and fun and kind of throw out the hope for anyone being like that person. And so this is where you get this degrading sort of mimetic outflow that starts with some form of actualized being. And this is exactly what happens with virality in general. It doesn't have to be an actualized being. It could be someone throwing diarrhea at a baby. You get the spontaneous, like some lunatic was like, dude, fuck that baby. I'm going to do it. I'm throwing diarrhea at this baby. And they do, and then like 50 million views. This is controversy. People talking about it, arguing about it. There is a law passed, Devon's law, which is if you throw diarrhea at a baby, you will get the death sentence. Or, it changes. It's like, but then because of this reverse actualization, I don't know if there's anything less enlightened than throwing diarrhea at a baby, but it's definitely like top less enlightened things to do. Uh, it spawns, it reproduces, it replicates, but then you know what you're gonna get? Fake diarrhea on baby videos. Matter of time, somebody throws soup on a baby, and they're like, "I did it! I'm a diarrhea baby man." And it's like, dude, that's soup. That's not real diarrhea. I can tell. I mean, it's hard to sadly, it's not as easy to tell the difference between diarrhea and soup, let me tell you. But
People used to do that with cheese. Remember that thing where
cheese on the baby.
they throw it at the baby's face and the baby like, "What the heck is that?"
Cheese on the baby. There you go. So that's a perfect example, Josh. So the cheese on the baby phenomena. So what happened is if you've ever been around a crying baby and you are honest with yourself, you are not always going to feel like a beam of compassion in the universe. You want the baby to stop crying. And so somebody, I'm assuming, was like making a sandwich for the baby or I don't know what. And the baby was crying and threw cheese on the baby's head. Lost their temper probably. And the baby is so stunned by this anomalous event. Suddenly there's a square of cold cheese on the baby's bald ass head. And none of it makes sense. This has never happened before. There's nothing in the baby's brand new brain to like reflect on what this means. And it's like watching a robot malfunction. They just freeze. And so somebody saw that. I'm like, my God, did I just discover some incredible hack for parenting? And then the baby's crying again. They're like, you film it this time. Let's see if it works again. They throw baby cheese on the baby's head. Baby stops crying. Upload. Nobody sees the third time where the baby cries harder. They just see the second time. And now everybody's like, this is a way to short fuse a baby. And now it's a nightmare for babies. If there was baby news, they would talk about like this is like one of the more recent horrible things to happen to babies since circumcision. And suddenly it's fucking cheese on the baby head all the way, all around the world. Babies all around the world are getting cheese thrown in their fucking head. And this is an example of it. So, but where there's one thing, its opposite must also exist. And what Maslow is talking about is that pre-internet, there's a virality in human actualization that if you fucking wake your ass up for real, it spreads. The ripple will eventually disintegrate and turn into the opposite of probably what it originally was. Because that's the problem, is like, you know, from Jesus to Buddha, name the saint. You're just getting these like secondhand accounts. And a lot of them are secondhand accounts from secondhand accounts. They're like people hearing stories and then retelling the stories. And such a cosmic game of telephone happens there. You're not going to get the direct experience of what it probably was like to hang out with Jesus, to hang out with Buddha. You're not going to get that. You could say Christ consciousness experience. I believe that. But the day-to-day things, what he looked like when he got sand in his eye, how he woke up in the morning, just silly things he said over lunch, the way he smelled when he didn't smell good, when he had bad breath, all those things you'll never fucking know. No one, that's not going to make it into the Bible. No one's going to talk about, yeah, sometimes his breath was not great, but he was so cool. He didn't care. You're not going to get any of that. So the point is, and I'm talking to you directly. It's what drew you here, my friend. You know who I'm talking to. It's time for you to wake up. You just got to do it. If other people did it, you could fucking do it. And if you do it, then just think how incredible that would be. But the problem is you can't do it for you. That's the paradox. Go ahead and try to do it for you. You do it for you. You're just going to end up in some fucking sweat lodge with a lot of pregnant ladies around you and CNN trying to get into the sweat lodge to ask you why you won't stop fucking. So, but you could do it for you. And maybe if you're lucky, somewhere along the way, that you will just die that wanted to get your dick sucked, which is a real problem right now. I've become convinced that many of the grand social movements we're witnessing these days have nothing to do with someone wanting the world to be better and everything to do with wanting to seem like a hero. And that's the most dismaying shit ever because I've been noticing this cycle and it's wild, man. So this thing has been happening, which we are calling woke. It's a controversial term and it's got a lot of baggage attached to it, but it's a fairly good descriptor for a style of being. And the style of being in its last iteration showed up as a sort of corrective, holier than thou, self-righteous, messianic attitude that has sort of like levels of condescension and frustration mixed in with it. And so the articulation of it was generally not very compassionate, but more blamey and sort of hierarchical based on who's the most victimized. And so you get this bizarre hierarchy of victimization or something. And it didn't really work. Doesn't seem to have had any real impact in the world. In fact, it almost seems like the initial attempt is like it's gone backwards from the attempt. And the attempt is let's make the world better. But really what happened, the reason it stopped working is that it went mainstream. And that, friends, is the cycle. That's it. The cycle is a lot of people involved in some kind of social movement don't even realize that the reason they're engaging in the social movement is not that the priorities, even though I do believe there's legitimate concern in there, but at the top of the pyramid is them. They want to be cool, rebellious, badass, punk rock. Yeah. But then if the movement is effective, suddenly it becomes fashionable. What used to be just a searing moment. And let me tell you, friends, my dad had to endure my bullshit that I was 100% doing, not because I really gave a fuck about whatever I was saying, but because it got a rise out of my dad. I didn't realize that at the time. Like, I really felt like some kind of hero or something talking to this poor conservative Republican about how war sucks, Dad. And, it'd make his face turn red. And I love that because when he would go storm off into his room because he was sick of my bullshit, I got to feel like, dude, I'm basically the Gandhi of Florida. And, but that's what people are getting off on, that's a rush. But then it works and then things mainstream. And then when they mainstream, suddenly you don't have anything to push against as much as you used to. And you realize, oh, most of them, I don't think do realize this, but there's a sense of like, now what do we fight against? There's nothing to fight against. And there's a feeling of dissipation that happens. And so it's interesting to watch this cycle repeat itself now on the right. I think we're seeing an identical cycle emerge. It's identical. The core tenets of the belief structure that is being rammed down our throats right now are almost like a mirror image of the last woke phase, but the methodology feels identical. The methodology feels very similar in the sense that there's a condescending, histrionic emphasis on conservatism, and also that this is cool now, is punk rock to be conservative. And it's the same goddamn thing. It's like because there was the woke shit worked, and suddenly like, the media and was filled with this sort of initially, I think, very well-intended artistic attempt to unify people. And then it just turned into this dividing bullshit, and more than anything, just annoying. I don't need a Doritos commercial to educate me on social issues, man. I just want to watch an old Dorito. I don't need the Cheeto cat Chester to like, you know, be progressive. Just give me my fucking orange dyed Cheetos. And it worked though, and it was everywhere. And then of course people started feeling revolted by that. And then now it's going the other way. So now we've got like fucking Charlie Kirk at universities like baiting these dumbasses to ask him questions. And it's fun to watch, but I don't know if it's just me, but now that is starting to seem really cloying in the same exact way. It's like, it goes through this period of like, whoa, that's kind of edgy. But the more it gains traction, the less edgy it seems. Then it seems redundant. And that redundancy makes it lose its steam. And now we can fully expect some other fucking thing that's going to seem edgy to emerge. I don't know what that is exactly. Is it what Kanye's doing? I don't know. But there's going to be some new emergent, like hyper pushback against the whole system this time. No, now we're really going to overturn the system. This is like, fuck this. No, this is the one. And people are going to be shocked and their wigs are going to get knocked back. And everyone's going to be like, oh my God, this is terrible. And then that's going to become mainstream. And it's just an infinite bullshit cycle. It never stops. It's a constant. You could go back and look at the zeitgeist throughout, history and see this is the pattern. This is the fucking pattern. And the entire thing is driven by people who want to be cool. 100%. It's somebody loses their goddamn mind. Somebody is crazy, gonzo, out of their fucking gourd, and is wild to watch. And then everyone starts doing that. And those people are legitimately wild too. And then gradually over time, it gets inundated into the culture and is no longer relevant or interesting, and something else emerges. And it is so incredibly easy to get caught by these fucking movements. Each one is so attractive. And now, because of social media, it's never been this hardcore. Like, it's so easy to get pulled into the riptide of these now quickly passing cultural, political trends. And the problem is, every single time you do, and God help you if you make a show of it too much, because now you feel like you got to commit to it, you just end up looking embarrassing down the line when the next one emerges. Now everyone's mad at the woke people. People are pissed. Shut the fuck up. We ruined the last decade. And people are fucking mad. But there was a time when it seemed really like, whoa. And those poor motherfuckers, like, most of them got sucked into a riptide. Now it's the same thing. You got everybody parading around, like, yapping about like how conservatism's the new punk rock. I've said it myself. It's embarrassing. You stare at these rectangles and you're like, this must be the new thing. And you believe it. And then you're pulled in, and then you become part of the disciple phenomena. You become part of what in the Hare Krishnas they call the disciplic succession, which is the unbroken chain that starts with the actualized being and moves through time. But this is not an actualized being. This is just some kind of fucking reactive social movement that doesn't have roots in the transcendent, but inevitably is some kind of materialist apprehension of reality. So it doesn't have roots. And so it just blows away. And I'll tell you, man, this is one of these things that stuck with me my whole life. I still do it. I go to these Ram Dass retreats and I love them. Because it's just this crazy gumbo of people from all these different spiritual traditions. And you're dealing with people come there like dying, literally dying, or people come there after experiencing like just horrible loss. You get this whole like grouping of people who are like coming there to try to like make amends as much as they can with life before they die, or dealing with a loved one who passed away, or some combination of these things. And then mixed into that group, you get like the classic like um spiritual materialist stuff, of course. Like people want to like go there because it's cool. And then which is fine. And then you get mixed in like actual like llamas and stuff, like people who've been trained up for years and years and years and years. And like initially I think Ram Dass liked me to do these podcasts because like I was cynical, and I think he thought that was funny or something. And it was funny to have a cynical, skeptical person, even though that might not seem like what I'm like, compared to some of these people, hyper like cynical, or just was less I wasn't invested in like I didn't have anything to lose up there because I could just podcast like I normally do. And so initially, I was very cynical and skeptical, and that was what was coming out. And then over time, I became less cynical and skeptical, but I felt like I needed to be like that on stage. So I'm doing fashionable cynicism. And this fucking dude, he was a llama, but these people don't always wear orange robes. He's wearing like a Hawaiian shirt. And he came up to me and patted me on the shoulder. And he's like, "Hey, can I share something with you?" And he was being so respectful and nice. So I'm not thinking this is like a llama, which means like it's somebody who's like, it's somebody who's like gone through like various forms of spiritual discipline that many of us would think was insane, but didn't seem particularly like, seemed like a dad, kind of dad vibe, Hawaiian shirt, white dude. And I'm like, "Sure. What?" I didn't say it like that. I was like, sorry, I'm just thinking about that exact moment. It's so funny. It's a cafe. It's like a restaurant at a hotel. And he's like, he goes, that cynicism thing you're doing? Cynical thing? He's like, that right now, that's fashionable. But in a few years, that's going to seem like people saying groovy. Oh, it was awesome. It was a real, like, spiritual, in Buddhism, that's called wrathfulness, which does not mean, but more like this kind of direct honesty that is compassionate in nature. But because it's direct, it can hurt, it stings. And then he's like, the other problem is if you pretend to be cynical, but you really believe you're really like having a different experience than what the cynicism is conveying, that'll kill you. It's like, that'll give you a heart attack, is what he said. It'll give you a heart attack. Enjoy your omelet. And it didn't feel threatening either. It was just a perfect assessment of what I was doing, which often hurts. So that's the problem with like grabbing onto any of these fucking passing trends is, whatever the fuck it is. If it's not legitimately you, and how could it be? Because these things are made for like mass consumption, then you begin to reflect something that's not you into the world. It's not you. And that's the opposite of actualization. That's de-actualization. That's you pretending to be something because you want to be loved. You want to come home. You want to fit in again. And so you think this is a way for me to be home. This is a way for me to be accepted and cool. But just keep it's a pit. It's a pit filled with so many people. It's a big fucking pit. And it's filled with so many people. And many of those people are invested in saying, this isn't a pit. What are you talking about? This is the future. This is how the world should be. We figured it out. Finally, we solved the problem. Well, what about the muddy walls? Like, I feel like there's something outside of this fucking pit, and I'd like to leave, at least climb over the edge and see what's over there. Well, okay, Nazi. Go ahead, you Nazi fuck. Go ahead. See what's over the other side of the pit, you fascist piece of shit. Or, oh, really? You want to see what's on the other side of the pit? You fucking cock. What are you going to do? Go drink soy milk? Maybe there's a Starbucks where you can get some soy milk out of this pit. It's just massive cultural pits, sand traps that completely anchor your identity into some fleeting cultural moment instead of growing your roots into the transcendency. You're asking it actualized for real. You know, I'm not going to say like I don't enjoy watching Charlie Kirk at colleges, not so much for the content as much as the entirety of the situation is hilarious, which is everyone's playing the game. You know, if you're some dude with pink hair, when you go up to the podium that you've been standing in line at for the last 30 minutes or hour to say some shit to Charlie Kirk, you're going to get ripped apart. Guys, like, this is all he does. This is his fucking job is arguing with fucking college kids. It's like me going to kindergartens and wrestling kindergartners, which I would do. I mean, I see the point. You're teaching apologetics, or it's cool at first, but then over time it just becomes gimmicky. And like, there's this other thing people are doing now where it's some kind of conversation circle. Have you seen that one?
Yeah, and they hit the button to go in. Yeah.
Ah, it's so embarrassing. And both sides are guilty. One side, you've got certainty, a righteous person who knows how to argue and is whatever they're saying is 100% logical, rational, some sense of this is logical. On the other side, you have people who have divergent views that are not quite as fully explored or worked out. And these dummies get lured into this stupid circle, and then they argue together, and then they pluck a clip from it that makes them seem the most right, put that online, and I don't know, fucking boomers watch that shit and come in their fucking boxers. But it's just a mess. It's an embarrassing mess because no one wants to admit how insane the whole situation is. Like, really? This is how we're going to like talk with each other. There's a bell. You get 4 minutes. I don't know. People vote you off. Seriously? This is the modern salon. That's what we're doing now. It's so funny and somewhat riveting. But in the same way you get the diarrhea, people throwing diarrhea to baby videos. Now you got knockoffs. Charlie Kirk knockoffs. Those are so bad because these are people who are less successful at arguing with college kids, but they go to college campuses and they're not as good either. And so those are so embarrassing. Same kind of embarrassment. The college kids take the bait. They're like, you're a piece of shit fascist. But this guy's like, I'm the edgy Charlie Kirk. And he'll be like, I'll break your nose. It's so stupid. It's so stupid. But this is what happens. Takes two to tango, baby. That's the problem. You don't even get the punk rock conservative movement without the progressive movement. They're interdependent is what they call it in Buddhism. If like aliens came and they're like, you know what? We need some cloying, annoying, lectury, corrective humans on our fucking planet. And they evaporate all the progressives. So now it's just conservatives living on planet Earth. Now what? Where's Charlie Kirk going to go? Who's he going to argue with now? Did it work? Is he happy now? What's going to happen? You don't get it anymore. It's gone. The whole fun of it all. It's a world without owning the libs. Now what are you going to do? There's nothing to fight against anymore. It's all the way you wanted it. Now what? Do you retreat to your little Christian house and pray until you die. Nothing, no weights to lift anymore, no conflict, no sense of being right against the legions of the damned. And the same thing on the other side. The moment the world becomes what you wanted it to be, you're like, oh no, now what? And there's a story that you hear again and again. There's a famous, there's two versions of the story. There's a famous Tibetan, he's Indian, the Indian Buddhist who came to Tibet to teach Dharma. He gets to Tibet and he realizes like everyone's so sweet. Everyone's just nice, polite. And he worries. He's like really upset because he's like, I don't have any friction here. What am I going to do? So he like hires this shitty teenage like tea boy, like somebody to be his tea attendant, some little fucking jackass who's late, who doesn't give a shit about whatever the fuck he's talking about, crass piece of shit. And this, he brings him with him everywhere because he sucks, because he recognizes this necessity for friction in a person's growth progress. He needs something to be impatient with. Otherwise, what now? The other version of this story that I feel like I've told on this podcast before is this mystic Gurdjieff. I don't know how you say it. It's got a fucked up name. He, he would try to break people out of their pits by making them do absurd shit, kind of Zen koan style. Like you'd have to freak them out enough so that it like snaps them into actual awareness. It wakes them up. So he was having, there was a student that everybody hated who was hanging around Gurdjieff. Piece of shit. Everyone hated him. Really annoying dude. And so Gurdjieff is having all of his students cut a lawn into squares. So the whole lawn had to be cut into squares. And then he was having them take soil from one side of the lawn, these squares, and put it where the other square was. So basically swapping sides of the lawn. Horrible, boring shit. You literally pointless. So when you're done with that, you're going to have the exact same lawn, except the sides have been reversed. And so at some point, the annoying student just like breaks down and is like, fuck this. You guys are idiots. What are we doing? Are you fucking kidding me? I'm out. And so he gets in his car and drives away, pissed off. And so they go to Gurdjieff and they say to him, he left. He left. That piece of shit's gone. He couldn't handle the lawn displacement exercise. And Gurdjieff freaks out. It's like, what? When? When did he go? When did he leave? No, I pay that guy to be here. And he ran and got in his car to try to chase him down to make him come back because he was putting the annoying dude into the situation to prevent it from becoming completely cohesive, fluid, and non-confrontational. This is interdependency. And so it's something to think about the next time you find yourself fully engaged in some conflict-related thinking. You hate this person, you hate that person. This person really fucked up. We must resist this person, or all varieties of this person. And then the resistance becomes your identity. And then the moment that becomes your identity, now you're a resistor, then your identity is fully dependent on that which you're trying to resist. It controls you now. You are it, in the sense that that thing, that personality, that fashionable thing. I'm an activist. I'm a political activist. it depends on things being fucked up for you to have a job. It depends on things being fucked up for you to be relevant. And though you are not literally the thing fucking stuff up, if your whole identity is anti-fascist, then you will no longer be you minus fascism. It's fucked when you start thinking about things in that way. Instead of breaking it up into this or that, it's the same goddamn thing. It's just different shades of the same thing. And at some point, opposites stand back to back. And so you end up in this trap, pit stop. So this is the final thing I have to say. And then we'll take I'm sure everyone I haven't looked at the comments yet, but I don't want to. But the children learn that's them in the mirror. They learn that. And before that, everything's the fucking mirror. And as an exercise, I don't know if you've ever had this happen to you. Have you ever had this happen to you, Josh, where middle of the night you got to piss, you're kind of disoriented, and you think you're going to look in the mirror. It's kind of dark, and you turn to look in the mirror, but the mirror's not there. So you have that moment of like, wait, what the fuck? I don't have a reflection. You ever had that happen? Anything like that?
No, like you're a vampire? What do you mean?
Mirror's here,
Mm-hmm.
but you look over here because you're half asleep.
Mm-hmm.
You're not a vampire. You were expecting to see your reflection. Nothing's there. Not like a vampire. Sometimes because I'm half asleep, I'll actually see myself for a second, like a shadowy, and like, wait, that's just my mind. So if you start thinking of world as mirror instead of mirror as mirror, it gets really interesting. The next time you're just looking around at anything, imagine what you're seeing is a reflection. You're reflecting it back at itself. Just try it. It's fucking interesting. And in the same way, like babies have to learn how to do every goddamn thing. So it's like when you look at somebody who's new to mirrors or someone who's high, or you don't have to be high, just mirrors can freak you out. Looking at yourself, it's a reverse of yourself, but it's yourself. I mean, it's literally, you're seeing the opposite of you. But I don't know if you've ever gotten like just this is what happens when I turn my hand. Make faces. So you're experimenting with form and self and identity. This is what I can do. But look out at the world and everything that's happening and imagine like, oh my God, am I seeing myself do stuff, but in some hyperdimensional way? Like, is there something going on here, which is somehow me reflected back at me, but the me that's being reflected back is outside the expanse of my body. It's trippy to do. It's really curious to do. And when you do that, and you get past the part of like, God, did I have a stroke? What's wrong with me? Am I schizophrenic? Shouldn't have eaten all that weed. You start feeling this very expansive feeling. It's really cool. You start realizing how much the me and them thing is making you feel like shit. Ram Dass would say, dying is like taking off a shoe that's too tight. And you don't need to die to have that experience. Like the tight shoe is all the boundaries that are making an entire vast ocean of humanity your enemy or strangers. And whoa, when you start, this is where the paradox happens. This is we're getting very slowly to what I want to tell you guys about. You can't get there without first letting yourself feel. You have to really let yourself start feeling. You have to stop numbing down. Like you have to like everything that you're experiencing, you have to sort of be with that and not react from it. Like just feel it. Don't articulate it. Don't tell a story about it. And when you start realizing your thoughts and those feelings are not distinct, but the thoughts seem to be the sort of tip of the iceberg connected to these deeper feelings, you realize that the way to like soothe your mind is not by correcting your thought process, but by going deeper to what's wafting off of the turds floating in your in your heart. First, you must sit with your shit. And then over time, something starts changing. Now, this is something I have always hated in Buddhism. It's called Tong Lin. Oh, God. For some reason, anytime I heard about this, I would really hate it with all my heart. It's very strange. Just seemed kind of boring or something. It's crazy. Tong Lin is a practice in Buddhism. When I first heard about it, my first thinking about any of this stuff is, well, it's just horse shit. I don't know what that is, but it sounds so dumb. But the way it works is this. There's phases to this. Now, the first phase is vulnerability. Ugh. God, I hate that. But in Buddhism, this is called bodhicitta. And so here's the basic idea. You, believe it or not, have this like very soft heart. Now, you might not believe me, but you do, whether you like it or not. I'm so sorry. You can't get it removed. There's no way to get it out. I've tried. Just take my word for it. You don't have to do what I did because I've done every experiment possible in sealing it up, closing it down. I think people would have it removed if they could. But if you think you don't have that, that's because you're going to hate me for this, man. But that's because your heart is so soft that anytime you encounter it, it fucking hurts so bad. You hate it. It's what you associate with like cringing at the world. It's what you associate with like, it's the thing that makes you jerk off to porn. You think it's horniness. It's not. It's like, if that thing pokes out just a little bit, you're like, Jesus, I can't deal with this. I got to drink or whatever the fuck, jerk off, play video games, get busy, sign up for some more projects. And so that is bodhicitta. That now, yeah, you might not, if you're thinking of the last time you felt spectacularly hurt, the last time you felt spectacularly heartbroken, the last time you felt spectacularly betrayed, the last time you felt impossibly overwhelmed with sadness, and it maybe lasted 4 seconds, and then you yelled at your dog or something and smoked a cigarette. So you might think, that is not a good thing, that feeling, but that's the X marks the spot, and that's it. Because what you're really experiencing is the cold shower. You're getting like a couple of cold splatters from your heart, and then you're out, man. That's the thing. That's bodhicitta. So the first part is that's why you got to start feeling again, meaning that the next time it shows up, and it might be a few years for you. You've gotten so good at suppressing it, but maybe it'll show up today. Don't do anything with it. So instead of evading it, just let it be there and then they say things like welcome it, but I think that has a lot of like baggage attached to it. But just sort of observe, maybe just be in it, the feeling. And you start realizing, oh, this isn't as unbearable as I thought. I guess I didn't need to be a compulsive masturbator. I guess I didn't need to like all the things. I didn't need to be a rageaholic. I guess I didn't need to like work 70-hour weeks. I guess I didn't need to like go to the gym 9 hours a day. I guess I didn't need to be a sex addict or whatever you're doing. All very, very noble. I mean it truly. I understand. You're just trying to feel better. But so that's the beginning part of it. Is you flash on bodhicitta. So that's it. You don't need the whole fucking expansive heart thing all day long. You just need to know what that is and have the ability to drop into the place. Actors learn how to do this. This is why actors can just cry on command. It's because they know how to get into that place. So, step 1, flash on that. Step 2, this is the beginning of Tonglen, which is the feeling you're feeling, the rotten feeling, the suffering, the disconnect, the absurdity. I can't believe I just looked at Instagram for 5 hours straight. Oh my God,
Your guest is here.
tell him 5 minutes.
All right.
Oh shit. The point is, that's the X marks the spot. So you start breathing in the sludge of the world. That's the first part. So you're breathing in the darkness and the horror, and you're exhaling what they say: white light, cool, love, whatever you can do. I can't do love, but just pure white, cool energy out into the world. That's bodhicitta. It's the opposite of what everyone does. And people are like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to suck in a bunch of psychic shit, which is why you got to get the first part down and then you can do the next part. Everyone, I got to go, but let me show you why. You want to pop on the live stream for a second? Just for a second. I got to get out of here because one of my favorite people in the world is here. Oh, right here? Well, just for a second, then we'll start.
Yo, what's
Look
up?
who's here!
What's up, guys? Thank you for having me, man.
Good to see
Man.
you.
All right, we'll see you guys in a bit.
Bye! How cool is that?